I woke up to cold sheets at 3:12 a.m. on a Tuesday night in March, and that's when my 20-year marriage started dying. I didn't know it then. I thought my husband Michael was just having trouble sleeping. You know that feeling when you reach for someone in bed and they're not there? Your hand searches for familiar warmth and finds nothing but empty space. That's what happened. But this wasn't the first time. See, I'm Emma, 45 years old, married for 20 years, and I thought I knew everything about the man sleeping next to me. We had this predictable life in Riverside Heights. Morning coffee at 6:45, fights about the thermostat, Sunday grocery runs. The kind of boring, comfortable marriage you think is unbreakable, until it breaks. And when it does, it doesn't shatter all at once like glass. It cracks slowly, one lie at a time, one weird thing at a time, one middle-of-the-night disappearance at a time. The thing about betrayal is that it starts small. It starts with something as stupid as taking out the trash. Let me tell you about Michael before everything went to hell. This man had never, and I mean never, voluntarily taken out the trash. In 20 years of marriage, it was like garbage was invisible to him. I could leave rotting food in there for a week, and he'd just pile more crap on top rather than deal with it. I used to joke with my sister Lisa that Michael would rather live in a dump than touch a trash bag. It wasn't that he was lazy. He'd mow the lawn, fix the car, handle all the guy stuff. But household chores? That was my thing, and we both seemed cool with that. So when I found him missing from bed that Tuesday night, and he told me he was taking out the trash, I actually laughed. I thought he was messing with me, but he wasn't laughing. I went downstairs in my bare feet, checking every room. Our house had its own sounds, and I knew them all. But that night, everything felt off, like the house was holding its breath. That's when I heard our front door. That stupid door that needed WD-40 for months, but we kept forgetting to fix it. The hinges made this awful groaning sound, and there was Michael sneaking inside like he was trying not to wake someone. When he saw me standing there in my robe, he literally jumped. This man who never got startled by anything looked like I'd caught him robbing our own house. "Jesus, you scared the crap out of me," I said. "Where the hell were you?" And I'll never forget the look that flashed across his face. For maybe half a second, he looked guilty as hell, like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Then that easy smile I'd fallen in love with 20 years ago slid into place. Just taking out the trash. At 3 in the freaking morning? Yeah, couldn't sleep. Figured I'd do something useful for once. I just stared at him in our dim hallway. This was the same guy who'd let me handle every single household task for 2 decades. The same guy who claimed he didn't even know where we kept the extra trash bags. "Since when do you take out the trash, like ever?" I asked. He just shrugged and walked past me toward our bedroom. Left me standing there in the dark, trying to figure out what the hell had just happened. The next morning, I checked under the kitchen sink. Fresh trash bag, perfectly placed. He wasn't lying about that part, but something felt wrong. You know that feeling when someone tells you the sky is blue, and technically they're right, but somehow it feels like total bullshit? That's what this was. Michael was humming while making coffee. Actually humming. He kissed my forehead like always, asked about my day. Everything looked normal, but I kept staring at him, looking for, I don't know what. "Sleep okay?" I asked, watching his face. "Yeah, like a baby. You?" "Fine." I sipped my coffee, but it tasted like nothing, just bitter water. "I still don't get why you'd get up at 3 in the morning to take out trash." His hand stopped moving on his mug, just for a second. Then he laughed and shrugged. It was full. Figured I'd get it out before the truck came. What, is there some rule against it? But there was something in his voice, something that didn't match the casual words or the laugh, something that made my stomach twist. That night, I tried to stay awake, lay there pretending to read on my tablet, volume low. But I was exhausted, and I woke at dawn to find the trash gone again and Michael already in the shower. "You're up early," he said, drying his hair. "Couldn't sleep much. You?" "Slept like a rock. Took the trash out, then was out cold after that." And that's when I knew, not what was happening, but that something was definitely happening. Because Michael was lying to me, and after 20 years together, I could tell. It happened again the next night. And the night after that, every single night for a week, Michael was getting out of bed at exactly 3:05 a.m. and disappearing for 15 minutes. I started keeping track like I was building a case I didn't want to believe I needed. Tuesday, gone 3:05 to 3:20. Wednesday, 3:05 to 3:18. Thursday, 3:07 to 3:22. Always the same routine, always the same story about trash. I called my sister Lisa during lunch on Friday. "Lisa, I gotta ask you something, and I need you to be straight with me. Does this sound weird to you?" I told her everything. The middle of the night disappearances, the sudden helpfulness with garbage, the way Michael was acting different, but only in this one specific way. She was quiet for a long moment. "Emma, that's really freaking weird. Who the hell takes out trash at 3 a.m.? And if he wanted to help out, why not just do it after dinner like a normal person?" Right? That's what I keep thinking, but maybe I'm being paranoid. Maybe 20 years of marriage has made me suspicious of totally innocent stuff. Or maybe your gut is trying to tell you something. Trust me, when Tom started acting weird before his whole midlife crisis thing, I knew something was up way before I figured out what. After we hung up, I sat in my car in the office parking lot, staring at nothing. 20 years. We'd built a whole life together. A house, careers, friends, routines. We'd survived job losses, family deaths, all kinds of crap. Was I really gonna let some weird garbage thing make me question everything? But that night, as I lay in bed pretending to sleep, waiting for 3 a.m., I realized I wasn't questioning our marriage because of the trash. I was questioning it because my husband was lying to me. And if he was lying about something this small, what else was he lying about? When he got out of bed at 3:06, I gave him a 2-minute head start, then crept to our bedroom window. Our street was empty, except for the usual porch lights making yellow circles on the sidewalk. I looked toward our trash cans, expecting to see Michael. He wasn't there. I pressed my face against the window glass, searching the shadows. Where the hell was he? Our trash cans were right there at the end of our driveway, totally visible from where I stood, but no Michael. Then I saw someone walking up the front steps of the blue house across the street, the house where Sarah Chen lived. Sarah, who'd moved in 6 months ago after her divorce. Sarah, who was probably 10 years younger than me and looked like she belonged in a yoga magazine. But it was dark, and I couldn't be sure it was Michael. Maybe it was Sarah's boyfriend, or a friend, or literally anyone else. I was probably just being paranoid. Except 15 minutes later, Michael slipped back into bed beside me like nothing had happened. "Everything okay?" he whispered when I moved. Just can't sleep." "Yeah, me neither. That's why I got up to deal with the trash." There it was again. That lie, delivered so smoothly, it almost sounded true. Almost. The next morning, I did something I'd never done in 20 years of marriage. I checked his phone while he was in the shower. Nothing. No weird texts, no dating apps, no secret social media accounts. His browser history was boring work stuff and sports news. His call log showed calls to his office, his brother, the auto shop. Everything totally normal. Maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe paranoia was making me see problems where there weren't any. But I couldn't shake the feeling that my husband was keeping secrets from me. And if I was right, I needed to know what they were. Narrator. Thursday night, I made a decision that would change everything. I set my phone alarm for 2:55 a.m. and tucked it under my pillow. When it vibrated, I forced myself to keep breathing steady, eyes closed, playing the perfect sleeping wife. At 3:05, I felt the mattress shift as Michael got out of bed. I waited 2 minutes, long enough for him to get dressed and leave the house, then crept to our bedroom window. And this time, I saw everything. Michael wasn't at our trash cans. He was standing on the front porch of Sarah Chen's blue house, and the porch light was on. As I watched, the front door opened, and there she was. She was wearing this red silk nightgown that barely covered anything. Her dark hair was loose around her shoulders, and even from across the street, I could see that she was gorgeous in a way I hadn't been for years, maybe ever. And then I watched my husband of... I couldn't breathe. I literally forgot how to breathe. My chest felt like someone was sitting on it. 20 years of marriage, 20 years of Sunday morning pancakes, and inside jokes and anniversary dinners, and I love you whispered in the dark. And he was kissing another woman at 3 a.m. while I slept in our bed. They pulled apart and started talking. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but she kept laughing. This light, musical sound that carried across the empty street. The kind of laugh that probably made men feel like they were the funniest guy in the world. The kind of laugh I used to have before 20 years of marriage wore it down to nothing. Then he kissed her again, longer this time, his hands moving down her body like he'd done this a million times. Like he knew exactly what she liked, like she belonged to him, or maybe like he belonged to her. When they finally broke apart, he started walking back toward our house. I had maybe 30 seconds before he reached our front door. I ran to the hallway closet and squeezed behind the winter coats, my heart pounding so loud. I was sure he'd hear it through the walls. The front door clicked open. His footsteps moved through the kitchen, up the stairs, and then he was sliding back into bed beside me, like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just destroyed our marriage. Like he hadn't just taken 20 years and thrown them in the garbage. Like his hands weren't still warm from touching another woman. "Em," he whispered, and I had to force myself not to flinch when he said my name. Everything okay? You seem kinda restless tonight." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw back the covers and lose my absolute shit. I wanted to ask him how long this had been going on, if he loved her, if our entire marriage had been a joke. Instead, I whispered, "Just can't sleep. Come here." He pulled me closer, and I let him, even though my skin was crawling. Even though his lips, the ones that had just been kissing Sarah, pressed against my neck. "Love you," he said against my hair. "Love you too," I whispered back, and the words felt like poison coming out of my mouth. I didn't sleep at all that night. I lay there in the dark, pressed against my cheating husband's chest, and made plans. Because now I knew the truth, but knowing and proving are two totally different things. I called in sick the next morning, told my boss I had food poisoning, which wasn't totally a lie, Thinking about Michael's hands on Sarah's body made me want to puke. Instead of going to work, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and researched divorce lawyers like I was shopping for a new car. I read reviews, compared prices, looked for attorneys who specialized in cheating spouse cases. The whole time, Michael's coffee mug sat in the sink where he'd left it that morning. My lipstick from his goodbye kiss still faintly visible on the rim. That evening, he came home with flowers, red roses, my favorites, the ones he'd brought me on our first date 20 years ago. "What's the occasion?" I asked, arranging them in a vase while my hands shook. "Can't a guy surprise his wife?" He kissed my cheek, and I wondered if he'd brought Sarah flowers earlier. I wondered if she liked red roses too, but I smiled and thanked him and cooked his favorite dinner. Pot roast with carrots and potatoes, the same meal I'd been making every Friday for 10 years, because I needed him to think everything was normal while I gathered evidence. For the next week, I became a detective in my own marriage. Every night at 3 a.m., I positioned myself at that bedroom window with my phone camera ready. I recorded everything. Night 1, Michael crossing the street like he owned the place, Sarah opening the door before he even knocked. That hungry kiss under the porch light. Night 2, the way she laughed at something he whispered, the way his hands moved down her back, like they'd done this 1,000 times. Night 3, how she stood in the doorway, watching him walk back to our house, like some kind of queen watching her territory. 7 nights, 7 videos, all time-stamped and crystal clear. 7 nights of watching my husband choose someone else while I pretended to sleep. 7 nights of evidence that would hold up in any divorce court. If you're listening to this and something feels off in your relationship, if your partner's acting weird in ways that don't make sense, if you're making excuses for things that feel wrong, if your gut is telling you something's not right, pay attention to that feeling. Don't rationalize it. Don't make excuses. Don't convince yourself you're being crazy. Trust your instincts. Protect yourself. And remember that you deserve someone who chooses you every single day, not just when it's convenient or when they think you're not watching. You deserve someone who doesn't make you feel like a detective in your own marriage. Sometimes the best thing you can do is take out the trash yourself, even when the trash has been sleeping in your bed for 20 years. Michael still calls sometimes. Usually late at night when he's been drinking. He tells me he's sorry, that he screwed up big time, that he wants to work things out. But I've learned something important. Apologies don't undo betrayal. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust, and some screw-ups are too big to come back from. I changed my number last month because the only person I need to trust now is myself, and I'm finally learning how to do that.